It's time to get some SportSense. You're gonna get some SportSense. You better get ready for SportSense. SportSense.
What is up, everyone? This is SportSense, the show for people who don't care about no sports, but just want to know enough to socialize with other humans. I'm Cooper Epps, an expert in not knowing anything about sports. And as always, I'm here with my dad, James Epps, a sports expert, at least by my definition. Dad, welcome. How you doing today?
Good, Coop. Thanks. I'm excited. Always excited, but we got some fun to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have been excited, as you brought up before we started recording, that I'm leading the SportSense bracket group.
Oh,
so,
you are, and I'm pulling it up right now.
I mean, it's either embarrassing to the rest of you guys who, claim to know sports, or it just shows how it really is just a crapshoot and who even knows, right?
Yeah, but so good job. And you put in two, and this one you named Coop's Optimistic.
Right.
That's because who do you have winning the whole thing?
So yeah, people who are watching, I got my new BYU dad shirt on to get ready for the baby coming.
Nice. I want to see it. Hang on a second. Go back. Let me see it. I got to get back to you. Oh, right. Nice. BYU dad. That is too cool. Sorry, I was looking at your bracket here.
So that was from the in-laws for my birthday this week. Oh yeah, it's nice. It's my birthday this week.
I've got it right here. Hey, can you do here? Look at that. Can you see that?
Oh yeah, big.
Here, get that. Make sure you put that on Instagram or something.
Yeah, big red block of ink in the middle of your notes. That's awesome.
So happy birthday, Coop. A day early, but happy birthday. So I got to tell you, a day early is important. Because your card, I'm sending you a separate card because I wasn't here to sign the one Mom shipped off.
Yeah.
So, and it's not in the mail yet, but it's at my office. So I'm going to mail it tomorrow. So this is early and your card's going to be late.
Okay. Well,
from me, not Mom. She's always.
You know what I realized episode or two ago is I didn't say a single thing about your birthday.
That's okay.
That episode.
When you get to where I am, it's okay.
No. Well, yours is a big one, and we frankly didn't do enough of a celebration as a family for you because can I say what you turned?
Sure.
You're officially a senior at 65. That's crazy.
I am 65.
So do you get to start cashing in on some cool benefits now?
I could, but I did have to sign up for part of Medicare. So actually, I have a Medicare card. I bought Medicare supplement from basically myself. I use the guy that we sell that with. So yeah, I don't know. I keep trying to defy gravity a little bit and defy age. I'm not taking any retirement yet. You can wait. You can put it off to age 70 and max out some things. And I have a pension through old employment. Been self-employed for 20 years, but I have an old pension. I'm probably putting all that off. I'm going to keep working for a while and owning my business and doing that. But it is a little bit of a shock, when you really do it. But I'll just quote my wonderful sister. I only have one sister. She's the best. And she said, the alternative to not having birthdays is not very good. So she's going to choose to continue to have birthdays as long as she can.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go back to BYU and talk about how they're probably the reason that my optimistic bracket is carrying me to the top of our group, huh?
Well, you made a couple other really here, hang on. We got to talk about your group. We don't go straight to BYU yet.
Like, I think I literally did, Dad, is I'm pretty sure I did the chalk option, which is where you just mark the top seed as winning every game.
Yeah. Let's go back. I don't know how I missed. Your brother Casey has been leading the family one outright, killing it. He was Hey, you want to hear some numbers real quick? What? I'm sorry.
I never even got into the family group. I kept trying and it didn't work for me.
What the heck?
We'll have to manually compare my points and see where I rank in there.
Yeah. He has been killing it. And so here's the perspective. Until the last game, I think Sunday night. So here, I don't know if you know this or our listeners will think it's interesting, but right now the brackets that are official. Now there are a million other brackets too, but not near as many. ESPN brackets, the biggest, right? The largest. Yeah. They had 24,388,569 brackets officially entered this year.
Okay.
And Casey, at one point on Sunday, late afternoon, early evening, he ranked number 20. He was at 26,000.
Oh, 26,000. I thought you were going to say 26. And I was like,
No,
but
no,
26,000, I guess that's still a bunch of people tied up there,
Oh
probably, right?
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
you're in the top
So he's
one.
tied for first.
You're like 1% or something. I mean,
Oh,
it's you're right there.
less than 1%.
Yeah. So he
Wow.
he had that like 90. He was like 99.4, 99.6%.
That's
Now he
crazy.
ended up losing a game at the end that dropped him. And it's brutal if you lose one that doesn't go right, but only dropped him like 200 and something. He's at 200 something thousand. He's still crazy. Whereas I went from 500 something thousand to 1.3 million rank. But still, I'll take $1.3 million versus 24 million. I feel like I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
But yours, that's what's so good about yours. So hang on. I need to look back at that. Let's see. We got to talk about this real quick.
Mine's saying, okay, I'm 98.2 percentile.
Right.
Ranked 423,000.
There you go. See,
that's not
that's
bad.
really, really good. So let's go on Sunday real quick. You had I'm trying to find the one that really pushed you. Oh, a real good one. You got Michigan right. You missed Iowa State just like I did, but hang on. This is yours. Yeah, hang on. Let's go back. You got
Oh yeah,
Michigan State right, but hang on. There's going to be
why
one
did
more
I pick
here.
Michigan? See, I don't even. Maybe I did random. I must have done random plus BYU going all the way. I think that's what I did.
So you have Florida winning, which they're. No, we're going to get to. I got all the numbers really cool. I just glancing real quick on yours. You hit Maryland just right, who I got to talk about. They were playing a 12 seed.
Okay.
Texas Tech right. This is the one nope, you missed that like me. Hang on, I'll find you. There's something you hit that I did not. You got Kentucky. Let's see. No, you missed that one. hang on. You went pretty chalk, but yeah, BYU helped you. Arizona helped you. And Duke. Yeah, it's pretty clean. You got clean. So you missed.
I don't know what I did.
One. I don't know.
I really don't know how I got here.
You're doing good. That's what's so funny. So let's talk about it real quick. We'll get to BYU real quick, but here's a little review of the last weekend, right? A little review, and I'm going to break it down because what did I tell you a little bit? I felt like, and they said this year might be a lot of chalk, right? And we had to define chalk. And your oldest sister, appreciated understanding what chalk was. I think that was one of the things. Here's the quick summary review of stats, real quick. So all 4 number 1 seeds made it to Sweet 16.
Okay, as expected.
As expected, but some years one seems to get knocked off in that second game. I swear. It seems like one does. All 4 made it clean. There are 3, so 3 out of 4. 3 out of 4 number 2 seeds made it.
Okay.
2 number 3 seeds. I'm going down the seeding. 2 number seeds are in. 3 number 4 seeds are in. So right there, you got 7, you got 10 of the 16 were all number 1 through 4 seeds.
The higher,
pretty chalk.
Yeah, most of the higher ranked teams did win. Okay.
All the chalk almost won there. Okay. Interesting enough, there was only 1 number 5 seed. There were 2 number 6 seeds that won. BYU.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir. So BYU, we'll talk about the other.
I forgot there was a big to do when they were number 6. Yeah, people.
Yes, and now the highest seed that made it, who was probably poorly seeded when I go back and look at their record and how athletic they are, is Arkansas was number 10 seed, and they have made it.
Okay.
They knocked off the team we picked. I had them going to the Elite 8, and that's St. John's. I'm embarrassed to tell you, I drank the Kool-Aid. I heard the reports. I hadn't seen them play one game this year, and I kept hearing Rick Pitino's back and all that they've done in that New York City team. And they were. I didn't know when they went cold, they missed 14 shots within 2 feet of the basket.
Whoa.
when they lost to Arkansas, they couldn't hit a 3. I didn't know they had those kind of Achilles heel.
Okay, so Rick, did you say Rick Pitino?
Rick Pitino.
That's their coach. Is he a famous big deal? He kind of sounds familiar.
So he was playing John Calipari, right? Let me make sure I got my team straight. John Calipari. These two 30 years ago were kind of going after each other, right?
As what, professional players?
Professional college coaches. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Rick Pitino and John Calipari they went after each other. I always forget which school, but they both kind of had NCAA sanction problems over the years, right?
Okay.
Working around the old rules. and they kind of had been busted down from the big jobs, and they were starting back at these low level schools. But guess what changed? The NIL, right? So basically made it professional. And now they're flourishing because this is the game they know, paying players to play.
Yeah. Wow.
We've had this discussion.
So they were bribing and playing and got demoted or fired or whatever.
Yeah. Let's not say bribing. Let's just be careful. And
well, that's what it is. I mean, it is what it is. Right?
They worked with, maybe it wasn't them directly, who knows, but there was definitely some sus, as you young people say, sus, big sus
activities.
Yes, very, very. But so these two had gone after each other, and so what made them famous? Either Calipari, one of them, they both have gone to the Final Four and won national championships with other teams, right?
Okay, wow.
And they have gone at each other. And Calipari's team was seeded 10, and Rick Pitino's was number 2. And I balled on Rick Pitino. I should have balled on Calipari. I should have known. But anyway,
they're just making me think of pepperoni pizza right now. Those names, something phonetically is getting me hungry.
If you don't know, they're both Italian as heck from the Northeast, from New York and everything else.
That makes sense.
So they were a great matchup, right? In terms of national interest.
So is Calipari still coaching?
Calipari. Oh yeah, he's who coaches Arkansas.
Arkansas
upset
matched up again all these years later.
And that's what had all the fun. But anyway,
that is a cool story. Okay.
So that's as far as we'll go there for right now. Arkansas though is interesting. So 15 of the 16 teams that made it to the Sweet 16, 15 of the 16 are seeds 1 through 6.
Okay, yeah.
And no fifth seed in there. And then Arkansas, which really was poorly seeded, is number 10. So they're the if you will, the lowest seed, meaning the worst seed.
Yeah.
They're
the lowest ranking.
So if it is easy to say when you look at those numbers, I know you look confused.
They're the darkest horse, as we learned to say.
And they're not very dark, right? This is pretty mild.
Okay.
But when you look at chalk, I mean, like I said, 4 number 1 seeds, 3 number 2 seeds, 3 number 4 seeds, 2 number 3 seeds. It's pretty chalk.
Well, so what makes Arkansas so special? You seem to be interested in them.
I am. They're very, I'm paying attention now. They're very long and athletic, and when they can really disrupt the inside game of a team, and that's really what messed up St. John's. So they missed 14 shots within 2 feet of the rim. It's because all that length, all that defense, the length of arms and height, they just weren't getting their shots, even on the inside very well. They were getting them swatted back and partially blocked, and they were having them. They make a much more difficult shot.
It's hard, right? Hard to defeat Goliaths, I guess.
But it's just the size and the speed, and they weren't getting their fast break. They're used to running guys kind of out of the gym. So they get to rebound speed, and they weren't getting as many rebounds, and so Arkansas just had the perfect solution for them and beat them.
Right.
So, but I just want to share the sweets, where we're at Sweet 16. How did it happen last weekend? But we have a couple of stories about last weekend. Sadly, there weren't there's no real Cinderella. Arkansas is the closest thing we got to a Cinderella, and that's this. But they're still 10 seed. Hey, they're a 10 seed, and they're in the Sweet 16.
Yeah. And everybody kind of hopes. Yeah, you kind of hope for someone to
well, we had a team.
Yeah.
We had a team. Let me tell. Can I tell you about it?
Yeah.
It was the fine. It was the second. So it was the round of 32, and we had Colorado State playing Maryland. And Colorado State had won the first round by beating Memphis. So Colorado State was 12th seed. Memphis was 5th seed.
Did we talk about Colorado State last week about how they were maybe a dark horse?
Well, they were one of them, but I went against them, man. I voted Memphis. I had them out right away. Okay. But they beat Memphis. So that cost me. I had Memphis going 2 rounds. That hurt me. So they're the highest seed left. So they play. So them and McNeese State. McNeese State beat Clemson. So both of those 12 seeds beat the two ACC teams, and Carolina had already lost. We only got one team left from the ACC.
And you were talking about how the ACC was not even making you proud at all this year. So that's sad.
Sad.
So who do we even have anymore? Just
Duke. That's it. Duke.
That's crazy.
I never thought I'd be pulling for Duke so hard, but now I'm pulling for Duke. But those are the 2 12 seeds that did have upsets, and they did win. Now, they won the first game, right? So now they're moving to the second game to make it the Sweet 16, and we were this close this close to having two Cinderellas. Colorado State. I actually watched the end of this one. Maryland was not playing their best, and Maryland has probably better athletes, but Colorado State, that's what makes up a Cinderella team. They were very united. They had a couple of good portal transfers, but they had guys, one guy played there for 4 years, and they were scrappy. I mean, they were scrappy, and they were down by 2 with like 12 to 14 seconds to go. They take a timeout and they call a play, and they take an inbounds play and throw it in. And so they're only down by 2, a 2-pointer, a tie, go to overtime. Is what they're thinking.
Okay.
But you're thinking 12 seed, long shot, maybe they'll go for 3. And the coach said, we were going for the best shot. Well, they ran the guard. They had their inbound play. They're moving all around. The guard ends up with the ball, and he dribbles through the lane. I'm expecting him to figure out, turn around, pump fake, get a foul, or go for 2. Goes around and takes a screen and pulls up and hits a 3. Swish, nothing but net.
Oh, man.
They're going crazy. They're up by 1, right? Yeah. And there's 3.9 seconds left in the game.
Okay. So it's Clemson's turn to try to
Maryland. They're playing Maryland.
Okay. Yeah.
Good go, but Maryland on this one. Clemson's the next game. Anyway, okay. So I mean, this is what it's all about. We hadn't had much of it, but the place is going crazy, and I'm pulling for Colorado State, even though, because I'm already sunk because Memphis was my one that goes to the next one. So I'm pulling for Colorado State. Well, they call timeout. They make a play. Let's see, there's 2 games that finish like this. Anyway, bottom line is they get a freshman goes in the huddle and calls for the ball. He said, give me the blankety blank ball, apparently. So they drew up a play for him, and less than 3.9 seconds, he ends up hitting a banker beauty. And as time, it hits the backboard or there's 2 that ended like this. One hit the backboard and went in, and the red lights went off around the backboard, time's out. Uh-huh. And they win. So Maryland won by 1.
Oh,
and Colorado State lost.
You took me on a ride for that one. I thought you were going to tell me how Colorado State upset the big old team.
They should have. But they made a miracle shot.
Wow.
But so that was
very
brutal.
exciting finish on both
very
sides,
exciting. Yeah. So that was the number 12 seed. So that 12 seed's gone. That's too bad. Other 12 was McNeese State beat Clemson. But here's the story on this one.
Never heard of
you
her.
Had to look it up. I forget where they're from, but they win mid-American something conference quite often. They've been in a few times.
Okay.
But playing Clemson. Now, this was by the way, the Colorado State Maryland game was kind of back and forth. Colorado State got up by like 8 points at one point. So it was pretty good. Well, here's the crazy thing that happened on the McNeese State Clemson game. Clemson was so bad. So forgive, don't let Keaton and them sell them. They're going to correct me, but they had maybe 18 points at half.
Okay.
Or 16, 18,
wow.
20
yeah,
points at
that's
half.
not
Nothing.
Many in a basketball game.
They got down by, I think, to almost 30 points.
Okay.
Got down.
If they didn't come back and upset the way you're leading me on right now, I'm going to be furious.
They stunk it up so bad. And they still were stinking it up. And they were still down by 20 plus points with probably 6, 7 minutes to go, 8 minutes. And they stunk it. They still were stinking it. And then all of a sudden, Clemson started burying threes. They started stealing. And they cut it to 2 points. Clemson did.
Wait, hold on. I'm not understanding. Clemson was behind by 30 at some point?
Yes.
I thought you were saying McNeese was.
No,
okay.
That's what's crazy.
Okay.
McNeese State was a 12
school. This was just burying them.
This is the first game. This is round of 64.
Okay.
So it was, the little school was killing them. And there's no way Clemson was an embarrassment. I couldn't even watch. I kept checking back on the score. And then all of a sudden at the end, they made a run the last 4 or 5 minutes. Crazy. Wow. And cut it to 2 points.
But still lost.
But they lost. Clemson lost. But McNeese State lost the next round.
They got some sort of Denzel Washington speech at halftime, I guess, or not even way after halftime.
I think the coach probably there probably no cameras, no nothing. He probably had them by the throat at halftime. But so those are 2 I would call most dramatic Cinderella potentials. And they went flat. I mean, they were so close. That was fun.
Well, McNeese, you're saying McNeese is a lower it's a lower.
They were
right?
12 seed. They were 12
Okay,
seed.
yeah. So they're
it was going to be a big upset over Clemson, big ACC team.
So we're keeping an eye on them and on.
No, they're out. They're out.
Oh, you got me all sorts of confused.
Okay.
Oh.
They were in the round of 64, the first game.
Okay, so McGee's lost in the next round.
That's exactly right. So they beat Clemson in the first round, lost the second round. Whereas Colorado State had made it already. They had won a game the first round. They were playing the second round to get to Sweet 16 and had them beat, made the last second. So they were going to make it to the Sweet 16.
Okay, so I see. All of this, the past 10 minutes or whatever, was to say that we almost had some
12
cute
seeds.
Cinderella stories, but they got squashed in the second round.
They're gone.
Well, there you go. There's the. Have you heard of TLDR, Dad?
No.
It means too long didn't read. For people, people who tuned out for about 10 minutes there.
No,
there's
I'm trying to feel. You had to get a little review because people expect some fun things during that. And what I'm giving you is that's the most we got this year. That's why I said it's a lot of chalk.
Okay. Otherwise, we're just kind of we're in the Sweet 16 now. We're kind of down to the best of the best, pretty much. Exactly. We're kind of about. So interesting. One last thing about brackets and your ranking and what you read. I said there was over almost 24,400,000 brackets. They keep a chart now. You can click on ESPN and it shows perfect brackets. And it starts with how many. Have you looked at that? I haven't. I was wondering, how many are left now?
So last night before the last game, there was only one bracket left that was perfect.
Whoa.
And then it's busted. There's zero brackets.
So crazy.
So we didn't get all the way to the Sweet 16 and have a perfect bracket.
Statistically, that is so mind blowing.
Isn't that crazy with 23 million?
Especially with all how you're saying about how all the most of the
there's a lot more chalk this year.
Yeah, won. So it's like. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. My brother-in-law he's getting his master's in stats right now and sports statistics in particular.
Oh wow, you got to talk to him about that sometime.
Yeah, I know.
We need to get.
Maybe
after this is over, tell me he needs to do an autopsy of it and see what's up with it. It'd be fascinating.
I mean, I do know. Yeah, like 64. It sounds small, but when you start doing all the calculations for how many different ways it could go. I guess it's 68 teams, like you told me last week, really.
Right. But they only measure 64, right? They only measure the 64. Okay. The others are play-in games.
Did Carolina, you know how you told me they were trying to play into the tournament? They were one of those 4
And they lost the first round.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, bummer.
They stunk it up. Yeah, bummer. We got nothing but Duke. But Duke looks the best. Just FYI now, talking about upcoming 16 teams. Yeah. If you listen to the national pundits and just watching, they look the best.
Okay.
Right now, they're playing the best. They look the best. They've crushed both teams by 30 more than 30 points.
Okay.
They won their first 2 games by a total of 67 points.
That's crazy.
So they are looking really good. And,
I've got them winning my other bracket, my probably bracket.
Me too. So, I got Duke and Florida. Florida is probably looking a little weak. They barely got by. Florida barely got by UConn.
Oh wow.
But UConn back-to-back winners, national championship. But so that's kind of the fun stuff. People can go look at the brackets, but that's kind of where we are, and a lot of chalk and kind of interesting. Now we can talk about BYU for a minute.
Well, okay. Well, I want to, before you dive into them specifically, I think it'd be fun to end on them. Just give help me understand exactly how the flow of this goes from here on out, because I was surprised when we were already in the Sweet 16 by the end of this weekend. I didn't realize we were going to do 2 whole rounds all in one weekend.
That's really good. Yeah, good. There's 3. It only lasts a total of 3 weekends, Coop. So the whole thing.
So we knock it down to Sweet 16 in one weekend, and then
you go to the final.
Basically, 1 round per weekend from here on out.
Well, no, it's 2 rounds. So this weekend we got to 16. After next Sunday night, we'll only have 4, the final 4.
Oh, yeah. So we're doing 2 more rounds this weekend.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I call it 1 round, but yes, you're exactly right. So here's how they call it, right? The first 64, then the 30, then we have the 32, then we have the Sweet 16, the Elite 8. They got to put names on it. The Elite 8, and then the Final 4.
Right. Yeah, they're cutting it in half twice. Yeah, each time. Every weekend.
Yep. So now that's what we have coming. Does that make sense to you?
So this weekend we got 2 more cutting in halves. Is what I'm going to call it, and then we'll be down to the Final Four.
So
cool.
Can we touch on that real quick about
I'm not
the
washing my BYU dad shirt all
No,
week.
no, do not. Well, you got a little nephew is dirty, and I told him not to wash it, but I meant don't wear it every day. But he came to the house yesterday wearing that same little Saunders shirt, and he doesn't plan to wash it, and he plans to wear it all week. So I said, by Thursday, you'll be able to stand it up in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah, because kids sweat a lot. I mean, they're playing. Yes. It's springtime over there in North Carolina. It's starting to get warm. So that's not going to smell great.
That's CJ. We give him a shout out. So let me I'll just do a quick prelim, because next time we talk, these games will be down to Final Four. But here's the matchup. So we've got the South. You've got Auburn and Michigan, and Auburn has not looked great. So
they're one of the number 1 seeds, right?
Yes. They're one of the numbers. So 1 seed versus 5. Okay, the 5th seed. So I guess I did have one. Yeah, I had 1 5 seed. That's right. There was 1 5 seed. It's Michigan. So if I were to call an upset in the first set of games, Thursday and Friday, right, going from 16 to 8, I would call Michigan as a chance for upset. Ole Miss playing Michigan State. That's a 6 versus 2. That'd be my next call. But I think Michigan State their coach is so battle tested and has been great in Final Fours forever.
Yeah.
Crazy game. I think this is going to be almost a blowout. Florida versus Maryland, 1 versus 4. Maryland had to play a totally different game than what I saw this last weekend. Florida, I feel like, should dominate. And here's a crazy one, and I don't have one horse in this one. Texas Tech versus Arkansas.
Okay.
Actually, I do have Tech. I'm sorry. I picked Texas Tech. So Texas Tech versus Arkansas. That's going to be a good game. And even though it's 10 versus 3, I think it's going to be a toss-up, a real toss-up. There are all sorts of athletes on both sides of that, so it's just kind of who hits the critical 3 maybe, or blocks a final shot.
Okay.
So those are the first. That's one half the matchups. The other half on the other side of the brackets, Duke versus Baylor. Duke versus Arizona.
Yeah.
I think Duke will blow them out. I think they're going to beat them by 15 or 20.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that. The next one is BYU, Alabama.
Right. Yep.
And for this, I have Alabama winning, but but I'm pulling for BYU all the way. Now, I think, again, if BYU is so deep, Coop, I know we'll save that to the end. All right. And then I have the last 2 games, and it'll be Houston and Purdue. Boy, I think that's going to be like a nail biter to the end. They have different styles of games. Purdue's going to be a little bit more big man, plotting a little bit. They can run. But Houston, they ran BYU out of the gym twice this year.
Yeah.
Houston is tough, but BYU is a different team now. And then probably in terms of the South of the United States, this one is getting a ton of attention. And it's blue blood against blue blood, but it's the Kentucky against Tennessee.
Okay.
And they both hate each other. This is all SEC. This is all Southern. They really aren't that. Kentucky campus versus, the Tennessee's campus is probably not but 3 hours away or 2.5 hours away.
Yeah. Where's that game being held?
Through them. Well, they are playing in, let's see where they are. They're the Midwest bracket. So Midwest bracket, where are they playing?
Oh, so it'll be neutral though.
Yes, it's neutral, and they will. And both fan bases travel extremely well.
Okay,
but if you were to tell the team, for our fans, not if you don't have a dog in any of these fights, except for hopefully BYU and Duke. But anyway, that was one that it'd be fun to pay attention to.
Okay, if you're just looking for a fun basketball game,
and have the fans go nuts. The colors are so perfectly opposite, right? Tennessee orange, right? Tennessee orange, and the Kentucky blue, Kentucky bluegrass. That'll be a fun one.
Why'd you say that they both bleed blue earlier?
Well, blue bloods, like blue blood meaning their programs. Their programs are like blue bloods. It's like Duke, Carolina. These long, the ones that have won so many championships. And they're like at the top, recruits.
It's like in Harry Potter, they'd call them pure bloods.
Yeah, the blue bloods, what you call them.
They have a long, storied history of great basketball, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
exactly. So that'd be an interesting game. And then let's go back. What you got? What you got for me? You have a question?
I did, but I lost it. No, I got it. Here's what I mean, basketball. I mean, we can't realistically ask anybody who's not into basketball to watch any of these games, right? I mean,
right.
I feel like football, I feel like people can get into football. There's kind of a party element to it.
Let's say more social, you think?
Yeah, I don't know. But I guess what I'm saying is basketball, is even this Kentucky-Tennessee game going to be so thrilling that even a layman should watch it? You know what I mean? Or is it all just basketball? You know?
Probably not. Well, again, here's what I like about them. If they would invest a little time, especially at the beginning, catch it before the game starts, and they tell the stories. Now they tell more stories about the players. They'll find about, in the
pregame.
Yeah, there's stuff. Johnny, who's been raised by his one-legged great grandmother who, who didn't have anything. I mean, there's some great stories.
The BYU player who's the tater tot king now.
Yes, yeah. Which I have. Oh, yeah, please. Thank you. I brought that up. Richie Saunders. Your brother quickly sent me a text and told me I was wrong. And I said Dallin Hall, Richie Saunders. By the way, TV's had it wrong for a little while. It's his great grandfather, not his grandfather.
Okay.
That founded Ore-Ida Potatoes, Ore-Ida. Okay. And then he founded the Tater Tots. So it's Richie Saunders, who's already got an NIL deal, name, image, and likeness. He's already got ads out with him and Ore-Ida.
With the Ore-Ida. I don't even know how you say it, but
Ore-Ida.
The potato, the hash.
Oreda. Yeah. So he already got ads. He's already making money off of that.
So funny. Okay.
He's the Ore-Ida king now, but it was his great grandfather, which is interesting. But anyway. Cool. So no, I don't think, but I think some might, how people who aren't into sports like the Super Bowl commercials. Well, a lot of these really are good, heartwarming stories. I'm not being cynical at all. I mean, it is pretty fascinating. You get to focus on some of these kids and literally kids, some of, not the superstars, not your namesake, Cooper Flagg. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really ones who make up the tournament, guys you will might not ever hear from again, but they are very fascinating. And
like the highest level they'll play is college basketball, but
a lot of them, yes.
But they have great stories still.
Yes. And so to me, I think that if I'm someone in like our audience, I think that's fascinating. And then you don't have to watch the game, come back at halftime or then that so catch some of that. I would recommend the beginning of the games. It's really fascinating.
Tune in early.
Called pregame. Yeah. And then go do other things and just either look at your phone or check and kind of check the scores. Just score. It's kind of fun. And then if you see one that's going crazy close or it's getting a lot of attention on your ESPN app, flick it on or look at it on your phone for a minute and watch a little bit. But
I tried.
Oh,
sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, I'm saying that I think that's one way to enjoy it and be prepared to talk about it with others because you touched it some, right?
Yeah. And
you might even find a story that really grabs you and you think about it and it impacts you for good, or you find it funny or whatever. This is you. I mean, this is your career. I mean, your profession. You deliver a message, right? And they deliver, and sometimes it's pretty heartwarming. Sometimes it's funny. I mean, like the Ore-Ida thing, that's kind of funny. It's interesting and funny. And Richie Saunders is having fun with it. He thinks it's hilarious that anybody cares.
Wait, I thought you said Dallin Hall is who it was.
No, that's who I said last week.
Oh, okay. That's who you mistakenly.
And I was wrong.
Okay.
I told Keaton I would explain myself and say I was wrong.
Okay.
Richie Saunders. I misspoke.
No, that is fun. Well, and I mean, if you're bored one night, I could see you hopping on for like a nail biter ending the last 5 minutes of a game, maybe, right?
Yeah.
So there's those kinds of games too. I mean, it seems like March Madness has the most of those kinds of games where it's like one shot difference at the end and somebody throws a Hail Mary. I know it's the wrong sport, but
those two games I told you, those 12 seeds games, that was crazy. Both teams should have won. The original team should have won, but then they were crazy finish. You had a crazy finish. Everybody thought they won. And then lo and behold, when there's 3.9 seconds, somehow you lost. I mean, they were this high. Emotionally, they were on top of the world. And the next thing you know, you see them, they're all slumped over and they're basically crying. I mean, that's the craziest about sports. It's hard to understand unless you
the highs and the lows
feel some of those things and have played some level of it and have those feelings.
I feel it a little bit if I'm trying to sell an idea to a client or someone at work. Yeah, I'll fall in love with something we came up with, and we'll give it all the bells and whistles in our presentation. And and then if it gets said no to, I go into a deep depression for at least 12 hours, probably.
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard
It's
to
hard
get
to lose.
beat like that. Yeah, it is.
For sure.
It is.
Either way, I mean, I think a lot of you guys have brackets going on. It's fun to have some bragging rights. And you don't know what this is, Dad, but I've got a prize. Dad's holding up his BYU hat. That's who we're hoping for.
Yes, and they're playing Alabama, which they're not saying it's a long shot for BYU on Alabama, even Alabama being like next to Duke, probably the best team looks like right now.
Okay.
They're all saying it's scary to play BYU right now because they got they're 11 to 12 deep. They got these crazy athletic guys, Keita, whatever all their name, Mag and Keita, those guys, some of the things they can do. And then Richie Saunders is playing out of his head, but they could play 10 or 12 guys and they just keep at it and they pound you and they don't stop. They run. And I heard 2 or 3 of the big guys say, yeah, I'd be scared to play BYU right now. That's what they're all saying. He goes, wow. They're really, it would not surprise any of them if Alabama got upset. It surprised them a little bit, but they're like I said, sometimes there's teams that are on a roll, and they're on a roll right now. They won 13 of 14. That one loss to Houston in the conference tournament.
Wow,
and they are on a roll, and they about gave it away. We can't,
Yeah, but the other night got
way too dicey at the end. But that's because the great freshman mainly made that bad. An error, him, throwing the ball in, made a mistake, a turnover that really gave them life. And sure enough, they buried a 3 and cut it to 2. And we're going, oh but anyway, so if they could play all 40 minutes to the very end, like they're capable, they can beat anybody right now. That's the truth.
Well, that's really cool. And let's round that story out by defining a term you're using. You're saying they were 11 or 12 deep. I think I understood what you're saying, which is that they've got that many good players on their team that they don't have to rely on only 5 good ones.
Exactly. And they actually use them. Yes. They actually play them.
They can cycle through. They keep fresh legs. It's like hockey. They can keep fresh legs on the court.
And and kind of the players, some of them have very different looks, different athletic skills, different abilities. So they look different. So they come in, the guy guarding the other guy, good gosh, who are you? You don't look anything like the last guy I had.
Well,
your strength
is in a funny way. I mean,
meaning your strengths.
They don't.
The way they play. One guy might be a 6'5" in between guard. Well, see, you're thinking the way you do. It's thinking sports. I mean, 6'5" guy, and the next guy's 6'7" and super long in arms and plays inside more versus outside. And,
you're getting different strategies thrown.
When I say look, I don't mean physically look. Right. I mean, some physically, how tall, how long their arms are. But you have a guy come in quite often. If you have a forward come in, let's say on one team, and he goes out and his backup comes in, a lot of times they're similar in their skill set, similar in their way they play. But with BYU, it's not. It is like a different recipe every time they put in a mix. And he'll run, like I said, 10 to 12 different players, especially 10 or 11 players.
Why? Well, that's cool. But why can't, I mean, these are all players playing at the college level. Why can't they all be conditioned and skilled enough to have a team? Why can't every team be 11 or 12 deep? Like you were saying, because there's a couple of reasons. And in fact, that's going to be one of my tidbits I'm heading towards a little bit. Okay.
Most of it is egocentric, meaning there's a starting 5 or 6 or 7 max, and they want on most of the minutes. They're not happy to share those minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
They're not happy to be the starting guard and only play 22 out of 40 minutes.
Yeah, they want to rack up stats and
they want to play 32 to 34 or 5 minutes a game and only go out once or twice. That's your biggest reason is ego. And to sell that as a coach, which our coach has done a great job, to sell it is not easy to bring some of the great talent. He's got 3 or 4 on his team that come off the bench. He said, oh yeah, they could start for most Division I teams. They would start.
Wow.
And with the portal the way it is, which I'm leading into my tidbits, the portal the way it is, it's so easy for them to hop over and go to a new team after the end of the season. right?
Okay.
So retaining that much talent, anyway, it's very difficult, and then get them to all buy in and really care about the one being the team, not the
Okay.
the individual.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah. So I guess you kind of got to get a coach to rally a team around the same goal and the same mission.
Right. So you got to recruit the right guy, basically. You got to sell the right guy who will buy into that and be honest with them up front.
Okay.
To tell them this is the way we're going to run it.
But then again, you've got teams like Duke with one crazy all-star who can carry a team to a championship almost.
They can, but even when he was hurt during the ACC tournament, he didn't play those 2 games. They filled in, won the tournament still, and looked good. Without him. So they've got plenty of talent still. It is Duke, and they got plenty of talent too. But some of their number 8, 9, and 10 guys probably don't get to play as much as BYU's 8, 9, and 10 guys.
I see.
Interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So if it's okay with you, I close with my tidbit.
Okay. Yeah. Hit us.
Daddy tidbits.
During this time, today's, we've talked about the portal. So I think everybody's used to that. Portal is where you can put your name in and leave your school if somebody else will recruit you from the portal.
Yeah.
And that's all you got to do. And that when people recruit you, they can maybe give you a better NIL deal, money deal, right? Or just promise you more playing time, or promise you can live in Miami versus North Dakota. I mean,
it's like getting recruited for a new job. Yeah,
absolutely,
like you get a promotion or pay raise or whatever. Yeah.
The portal opened at 9 a.m. I think it's 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time this morning, and by 5 o'clock, there were already over 500 entrants. Of players. Now I looked this up because even on ESPN, the guy talking was saying this is ridiculous. There are not that many good players who can move around. I did look it up, and I think it's reasonable. And now there's going to be more, but that was just in the first 8 hours today. Wow. Anyway, I think I'm putting you to sleep on this. I'm sorry, but 500 sound like a lot. That shows you how crazy the retention is difficult. It's hard to move it around. But there are over 5,300 Division I men's basketball players.
Oh, okay, total.
Because they carry 12 to 14 a team.
Okay.
Multiplied by 351 teams. So there's 351 teams, and there's over 5,300 players. So 500 would be 10%. That's probably not, but it's going to grow some because this is just the starting. This is just the first day. But it kind of gives you an idea of the change of thinking, the change of coaching, the change of recruiting, the change for money is so different. So that portal and NIL, those are 2 things, the name, image, and likeness, the way you can get paid and the boosters can pay you, plus the portal being so easy to move, free to move, changes the makeup of teams constantly. So in calling a game, which, I got to do a little bit of football for a few years, calling a football game, these guys calling basketball games, I listen to them all the time. Their study and prep must be unbelievable because they'll hear, it rolls right off their tongue. You say, he played. Last year he was at Duquesne. The year before that, he was at Georgia Southern. The year before that, I mean, it's
you have to know thousands of players.
It's like doing their genealogy during the middle of the game. It's crazy how they got me teams they've had. Anyway, so lastly, with that tidbits tied to it, there's one theory why we had more chalk, and we're having more chalk and less Cinderella teams. State being the biggest Cinderella was last year that they've had in years, is because this is what they floated out there. A couple of the guys I listened to on ESPN and Fox Sports, but that's what's happening is during the tournament, especially some of these, maybe somebody on Colorado State or somebody at McNeese State or somebody at one of these smaller schools comes out and he was not recruited heavily, or he struggled with passing the entrance exams. You never know. I mean, they have different issues. Yeah. And they come out and they look like NBA player. Next thing, what do you think is happening? Even if they lose in the tournament, what's happening? Coaches are calling him like crazy. The bigger schools are saying, come to our school. We're bigger, more money, and you get to play bigger, better team.
So if you make a name for yourself at a smaller place, you get recruited.
The bigger schools are cherry picking the primo 1 or 2 players that makes a 12 or 14 seed great. They get one player that's super, and he has a great tournament, and he's one man kind of carrying the team, and he's clearly way above the average of that team.
Right.
So they're losing those guys. So these these smaller teams and lesser teams are not able to hold on to some of their better players.
Yeah, it's basically a story of capitalism in a way, right? I mean,
is,
you're gonna the rich get richer, I guess.
So that happens to the players. Guess what else happens? To 3 teams already, because they had smaller universities but really performed well the first couple of games of this tournament, but they're out of the tournament now, already have new coaching jobs at higher, bigger universities.
Oh, interesting.
So athletic directors they're watching coaches and how well their teams perform with what they have, and they want a new coach. So Joe Schmo's out of there. He's had a bad 2 or 3 years, and they're watching, and they get to pick up the coaches. So you're picking off players and you're picking off coaches. And Colorado State, perfect example. Their coach is now the coach of Minnesota. I think it's Minnesota.
Yeah,
they had a great tournament, even though they lost in the second round. Wow. Great tournament, and he's already gone. So yeah.
Well, why hasn't this happened before? I mean, I guess the NIL deals I know made a difference in recent years.
It was against NCAA had a strong arm hold on all qualifications of amateurism and who could play, and you had to go by their rules. And forever, if you ever wanted to change teams, you had football, basketball. It doesn't matter what sport. NCAA Division One, you had to sit out a full year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shoot. So
and
now it's so easy. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, and then scholarships get involved, right? Then you might lose a year of your scholarship too.
Right. Which you don't want. So it's easier to transfer. There's money involved now. So it's
the difference is like walking in a pitch black room and flipping on a switch and it's bright lights. That's the difference of the way it used to be and the way it is now.
Okay. Wow. Interesting.
Now, coaches have always been, that's what people used to get mad about. The players are held like hostages. They're cuffed, and they're cuffed to their team and to their scholarships. But coaches, they would leave in an instant when they got better deals.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was not equal footing. Now it's equal footing in terms of leaving. Yeah.
Capitalist pigs.
Love them. I love them all. No, I'm just kidding. So that's my tidbits. A little bit more about how maybe we're going to have less, I hate to say it, less dramatic Cinderella teams because they keep getting gutted each year instead of having a group that really comes along like Colorado State and they all play together 4 years. And in their 4th year, doggone, they're pretty good. And they make it to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8 or Final 4, Wow. They kind of probably we'll see less and less of that, it looks like.
With all of Elon Musk's projects, with all of his money, Bezos too, for that matter, it'd be hilarious if one of them just like gave a ton of money to one no-name school, McNeese or something. I guess McNeese isn't super no-name, and just like funded them for like a decade and just as a passion project. Can you make a no-name Joe Schmo University online basketball team into a championship winner? That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that is. And believe it or not, there has been some schools who have smaller schools that have got some pretty big backing.
Big old donors.
It would have to be like them, but nothing like I said, the SEC or Duke. I mean, you ever really know about Duke? Like Duke's regular endowment, the endowment they use to give scholarships, not sports. This is not sports.
Okay.
This is just a regular endowment. Now they're second only to, I think, Harvard or third, but they are in the many, many multi-billions, like 3.5, 4 billion that they have in a trust.
Oh, wow.
And their earnings kick off for scholarships, special funding for research.
Okay.
But they're into a I think their last time I heard 3.6 billion or something. They might be over 4 billion or more now.
Wow.
So there is some of these universities, not just the sports, but some of them on the sport. So SEC football, I don't think they care as much about endowments for, intellectual research. They got that much, I think, in their football program, right? They got so much money anyway, kind of interesting. Fascinating.
Well, I'm sure there's some intellectuals. In fact,
I'm not saying there's not. I don't think the money.
We're hiring. So me and my partner work our internship mentors this summer, and one of the guys we hired, one of the art directors we hired, is a University of Alabama graduate. So
nice.
no,
I have a
very,
good
which is
friend
very
that I
unique
work
for our
with.
agency. But
Yeah, that is for them. I hope he's from Alabama, so y'all can.
yeah.
Can get
He said he is. So he's born
those
and
good
raised out
accents.
there. Yeah. He's got a good accent.
He's got to have a good accent.
So
Alabama.
We're super thrilled to have him. So there's some good that comes out of Alabama besides football and basketball. But I know you're just teasing.
My former guy who hired me at my original company, Nationwide, he was an Alabama graduate. He'd be very offended by me talking like that. But he knows the truth about the money that gets put into sports, especially football down there.
Right. I'm sure. Yeah, there's a difference in priorities of the investment, but
yes.
But it pays off every year. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Dad. This was great. Hopefully everybody is getting into the madness spirit of March, and have a great weekend, I guess.
Yeah, thanks.
Just
I can't believe we went this long. I'm sorry. You're going to have to
I know. Yeah.
We what the heck?
I'm on dinner duty again tonight. I'm going to go cook
man.
I'm going to cook your chili recipe is what I'm working on after this. So yeah, I'm very excited. But as always, thank you for listening if you made it this far. And Dad, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next week.
Good work, Coop. See ya.
Okay.
Bye,
see you,
Coop.
Dad.
Bye-bye.
SportSense.